So what inspired you to start this organization and what problems you are trying to solve using this FIIDS?
Indian-American just 1% of population, but we contribute 5% of taxes. Indian-American community is growing. It's a huge population. It's contributing in the American society. But when it comes to the actual impact seen in the policies or things that may be matters, is not there. Right now in this Congress, there are almost 40 bills are there which are impacting us. Lot of things that they know, but they know nothing about it. Unless somewhere something comes, and there also they get panic. If the community itself is not proactive and involved, then they become.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Insight with Praveen. Today we are diving into an important conversation around policy, advocacy, and growth influence of Indo-American community. Joining us today is founder of FIIDS, Foundation for India and Indian Diaspora Studies, Mr. Khanderao, who has established and founder of this organization. He has been working to strengthen civic engagement, policy discussion, and community participation. Let me introduce more about Khanderao, and then we will get into the discussion of what is this policy discussion and what is this FIIDS and how it is born. So without any further delay, I would like to introduce Mr. Khanderao, who is a prominent Indo-American policy advocate and thought leader. He has been actively involved in US-India strategic relations, immigration reforms like H-1B, green card, and also STEM issues, civic engagement and political participation of Indian Americans, technology and innovation policy, and advocacy on Capitol Hill for issues impacting our Indian diaspora. Khanderao has achieved many more, but I will let Khanderao to add more on this FIIDS organization. Khanderao, thank you so much for joining. Please let us know if I have missed about yourself, which you want to focus today.
I think you covered very well. You were asking me that if I should introduce myself in a couple of minutes or so. Just like any other first generation immigrant, I came as an immigrant here. I'm technologist. I'm from IIT Bombay. Came in Silicon Valley, did startups, did large companies, and but while doing all these things, I've been always active in community. Initially, local community, the various, whether it's a charity organization, organizing some events, representing some of the things. While doing that, slowly my own involvement, understanding of US itself grew. And there are a bunch of issues, whether US-India relations or the local or immigrants and all that thing. And as you know that we all growing immigrant families or the friends, we always discuss. And for Indian American, typically world events and politics and all other things are always hot topics. But I realized that no one does anything. So a lot of things, whether it's going right direction, wrong direction, we talk a lot, do nothing. And then we started going to Washington, D.C. and all that thing. I realized that there is completely absence. And then there is also wrong interpretation of a lot of things, whether things are happening in India or things related to Indian Americans. And it's everywhere, whether it's a policies like a think tanks to anything. So I realized that there is something that needs to be done, and probably I can start making some impact. So that's kind of a journey of myself, how I got into that. But otherwise, I'm a technology professional from Silicon Valley. I also do the startup advisory, and I also have another organization called GitPro. Over there also help technology professionals and early stage entrepreneurs.
Excellent, Khanderao. Most of us think about our jobs, our career, and how to earn money, right?
That's the primary.
Absolutely. If I look at you, you have done more than beyond what is required. So what inspired you to start this organization and what problems you are trying to solve using this FIIDS?
So what I inspired is also pursuing the need. When I feel that means I always from right from the childhood growing the people like say for example Raja Shivaji or Vivekananda or all these people, if you look at it, they themselves could have done whatever they themselves needed, but they always went beyond. So those are the people who always inspire to do something beyond ourselves. That is for us. From here also, if you look, the great leaders are there, and those leaders they made the impact like Abraham Lincoln, Jefferson. Their impact we remember because what they did is not for themselves, not for their families. What they did is not even for their own time, beyond that. And such a personality is always inspired. And but that gives the inspiration. What you need to find out the purpose. And when I started working in a small, say, community, when it started growing, and then I realized that there is this huge gap is there. Indian American community is growing. It's a huge population. It's contributing in a American society. We have doctors, we have engineers, we have hotel owners, and if you look at it, it's a huge impact. Like how 60% of the hotel, if you see in a doctors, probably 10-20% of the doctors in the remotest place of the America, they are making a difference. Then there are in California, there are farmers. The Sikh farmers are there from California to Canada. We have, of course, I'm technologist, so all the technology field is full of technologies, and we have a lot of CEOs and startups. 1 in 4 startup is Indian origin. There are businesses, whether 7-Eleven or Dunkin' Donuts used to be very common, even the petrol pumps. So all these things are there, but when it comes to the actual impact seen in the policies or things that may be matters is not there, and that's where I started uh, feeling that I should take the steps, and that's the inspiration.
Very amazing, Kanderaoji, because this is very, very important for all the Indo-American community. The If you see the community, as you really said, they are very good at business, they are good at studies, they are good at financially, they are very sound, but they are very weak in this policy. So, how the Indo-Americans should worry about this FIIDS? Why should they worry? When they have everything, what will impact if they don't worry?
Uh, just last week, I was in Texas, and I was for a conference. But the one thing prominently going on over there is that you may see that one of the city where Indian Americans are peace living, prospering, they're staying there, they have bought houses, and it's a peace living community over there. But there is a campaign, there is a mispropaganda about the community, and to a degree that outsiders they should be deported, and there is an online chatter is also growing around that, and so when migrant community is grows, there is always the issues, and if the community itself is not proactive and involved, then they become in a receiving end, and that's why organizations like FIIDS, and what FIIDS is a uniquely different in that it is not activist organization. We are not activists. You will not see us doing the protest and all that. What is missing is that looking at what is happening at the highest circles on the policy matters which are going to get impacted to us. How should we get engaged? What is the strategy? Why these things matters? How we can make the difference? How we can present all these things? So that is where we focus on. So we fill in the gap, which is the much needed from the impact point of view, from not only from the current but for the future. So that's why organization from Foundation for India, Indian Diaspora Study is a uniquely positioned because we are policy institute as well as awareness platform. We do both. We do fundamental studies. We ourselves do the surveys or studies, publish papers. We also analyze other papers or get engaged into the the think tanks experts, arrange conferences, attend the conferences. So those are the one part of it. Second part is that there are a lot of bills happens related to the policy in Congress related to Indian Americans. So I asked people that, hey, do you know any resolution or a bill introduced in last 1 month related to Indian American? People are blank; they don't know. Right now in this Congress, in 119 Congress, there are almost like say 40 bills are there in a Congress are related which are impacting us, and my established friends, my community people, lot of things that they know, but they know nothing about it unless somewhere something comes, and there also they get panicked that someone introduce a bill, abolish H-1B, and then there's a panic. But people don't know even the how the policies or how the bills get passed or how that become the act and all that thing. So there is a void. Though we are here, we are not really aware about how all these things, what are the things are happening that can impact us. So that's why it is very important to the community point of view to have something that which analyzes the policy. So that's what we also monitor. But then what to do is that to create the awareness, and awareness within the community means that our own people should also be aware about that, and also to the those who are actually decision makers, and the decision makers could be administration, it could be the elected officials, or the influencers could be the think tanks. And particularly in USA, lot of these policies that we see from whether the president or from the institutions, they are mostly conceived and baked in. You can think that incubator of the ideas or incubation of the ideas happen in the think tanks, and that's where they go through all these different aspects and pros, cons, what's the benefit, and they can how to basically implement, and they kind of influence the decision makers. And that is something that is also important. That's where we come into the picture. We need to engage with the think tanks also, where we can see the policies, how they're evolving. And final thing is that and that I realized after probably 5-7 years of starting this one. Initially, we thought that okay, we should do a think tank because that's a missing gap. But then we saw that just by creating papers, if you cannot influence, that has zero value. It's like having a vision without action. And if people do action, like most of the organization, activists and all that thing, we are all action, but there is no vision. So that both are the things are wrong. So that's where we started that how do we take the policies or positions and then connect to those who are decision makers, elected officials or administration or the think tank. So that's the second part. That's why we call uniquely that we are a policy institute and educational or awareness or advocacy platform. Because all these words are a little bit fluid, similar. There is a difference, very important. But some people would understand, appreciate education. Some people would say appreciate, understand awareness, and some people would understand advocacy. But we do this thing that take it and create the awareness.
Amazing, Khanderao ji. I think this is the greatest gap, even I feel, after talking to number of people, seeing number of organizations. I don't see any organization who has taken this gap into action. So again, hats off to you for taking such a wonderful thing, because being in this country, as you rightly pointed out, the bills, none of us know any independent bills which is passed day in, day out. For example, every state has a bill. You have got a very wonderful point. We need to bring this, what you say, we have to bring awareness to people about these bills. So coming to the, again, FIIDS, how do you bridge that gap? Is this organization, anyone can come and join as a member? You have any fees? Or what is your structure? And what are the events and what is the significant event? if you can explain the viewers, that would be wonderful, Khanderao ji.
Yeah, so in a way, it's a very easy to get connected, get engaged. This is not a membership-based organization, so there is no membership fees itself. So that it's a no friction, no impedance, anybody can join, right? That's one thing. And everybody has something to contribute. If not anything, that take this message, take this action, and in local community create the awareness. So that way, anybody can do, and that awareness could be anything, right? Particularly, you can just take it and connect to the people or email or WhatsApp message, text message, keep engaged, write to the editors, write to the civic officers, write to elected officials. You can start connecting with that, or connect with active organizations, other organizations, thinkers, and all that thing. So people can contribute. So connecting, getting involved in FIIDS is easy. So that way, just visit our website, subscribes to mailing, or participate. The best way is that participate, because just otherwise subscribing anything, you become passive participant.
Absolutely.
But then we organize programs. We organize awareness programs, whether online or in person. So that's a, and then we actually host some event which really impacts. And one of the event which is upcoming is a what we call a Capitol Hill Day. On 23rd of June, we are inviting delegates all over the USA to Washington, D.C. And this is our 4th year, and it's a very unique thing that we do. We meet elected officials or their legislative staffers. And legislative staffers are very important because those are the people, they actually make the policy briefings, studies that, and then do the recommendation. So elected officials typically depend on them to do their formulation or even the voting or decision about the policy. So the most important is to meet those legislative director or the staffers. So on this day, what we do, we take the appointments of all these different elected officials and meet them in a very small settings, just like how we meet for a business discussions or any other things. In a small setting, we articulate what are the issues important to us and see what their questions are there and seek their support for the topics that we have. So it's a direct engagement into that. And then of course we have the evening event on all that thing. But similar thing, and then you can think that we do that, and this is our 4th year, and it's every year, like last year we had almost 150 delegates from 22 different states participate into that, and we met 120 elected officials from 35 different states. And good part of this our delegation, that we had almost 35 girls and women's, and around same number of youths. So that is also good observation. You can think that it is not only making impact on the whom we meet, but I'm very happy to see all these youths are also going to be kind of take that experience, and that experience is always going to be forever with them. And I'm hoping them to be good leaders in the community or the policy, this one in their future. So that is what we are actually doing. And when they come back, they do the similar engagement in the locally, the outreaching elected officials, whether we have any think tanks or whether we have any people who are engaged into the policy matters. It can be media, it can be academicians, it could be authors, and in local community there are so many different diverse type of people. So this is think that this is our training. It is one manifestation in Capitol Hill, but at the same time, this is how they can continuously get engaged. So FIIDS also then structurally, so there are, I believe that just like in science, right, we came, many of us from science background. So there is a fundamental science and there is applied science, right? The fundamental science could be physics and say chemistry and all that. And you do the fundamental research. You can do research on quantum, etc. But it is not aptitude of everybody. Some people enjoy that because it takes long time. Like not everybody does PhD, and it's dry many times, right? You have to day and night, and you fail sometime many times, and keep on doing. And there is something which is applied. So once it gets out, like say for example, nowadays AI is very more popular. Now the doing AI algorithms is a very kind of difficult work, right? I've been from that field. I can say that it takes time, and you train and experiments go round and round and round to get it right. It takes time. But now you have LLM is available. Now everybody is a AI thing. Now you can take it and solve wonderful problems, fundamentals and foundation science, and then applied science, which is like to take this LLM and then use it for application. So that is that what FIIDS does in all over the places, called what we call as outreach centers, is that take these actionable items, policy knowledge, and spread it, connect to other people, influence them. So that is the application. So so that way we have some people. There is about 20 to 25 policy analysts we call. Say they write the policy paper, they study on that, they discuss and all that thing. We also have experts, the experts who are actually really expert in that area. They could be authors, they could be even some experts are from the administration or others. So those are the experts, they guide us. So that's a structurally, which is centrally, which is the one we virtually connected because not everybody is stationed. And outreach centers are everywhere. So there is opportunity for people at various level.
Excellent. I think you have connected very well from the structure point of view, and especially this Capital Hill program. I was part one of the last
Yes,
year's program.
and you really
That
helped us to meet. At that time, we went to Congressman Rich McCormick's place in the
exactly.
evening, and it was wonderful reception that time.
Thank you, Khanderao. I think this is what made me to do this podcast with you, because we wanted this to be broadcasted to more audience, engage audience in the policy making or the discussions or understanding the bills. How can we go to the legislators with a problem? Today, Indo-American community, as you said, they are rich, they are contributing high tax, they are contributing to the tech industry, they are intelligent, but still in this area, there is a lot of work to do, and you are doing a great work there, Khanderao. And you told that 22 different states are engaged. 22 states delegates come to this Capitol Hill. And how do you really spread the word today? And how can we engage the local state programs? Do you have any such engagement apart from this Capitol Hill? How do you engage the local community?
So I think good question. 22 number looks big, but it's very small. It is from 51 or 50, you can say that 22. So we are not there, right? So that's which is very sad thing actually. We need to have delegates representing from each state, each metro. So that is first thing, because that's how it's at the gap point of view. The second aspect is that what people can do. So immediately after this one, immediately after the advocacy summit, and I will go through all year-round programs, etc. But immediately, in the month of July, FIIDS do what we call as a celebration of democracies. And one of the, because India is a vibrant democracy, US is a very old that way democracy with a and so we have similar values. So but understanding the democracies each other, under cherishing the what we get from the democracy, so that is very important. So we do the local event called celebration of democracy. So what we want, all the delegates which come from say 22 states and others, they will locally host events and invite local elected officials and community. And it's very important that engagement because understanding each nuances of each other's democracies is also an appreciating that. It's very important to create that understanding of that one. That's we do. Then afterwards, this year is an election year. So this is very important for Indian American to participate in the election process. That is also another gap that we work on, is that it doesn't matter whether you are Democrats, whether you are Republican, or most of the people even in Indian American, they are not even registered into whether Democrats or this one. Participation of vote is very less. So there is a passive. Why should we vote? It doesn't matter, but it matters because the observers, the elected officials, or those people who are contesting, they get all the data. They get the data of your voting history. They at the individual level, they get the data about the community's voting history. And if community is not voting, then say that why should we worry about that?
Absolutely.
So that is where, so what we would be doing there, and we have the site which we will be updating. Once the primaries are done, then we put it over there. So with Indo-American election guide, so under that, we actually give elected officials, the congressional officer, their voting record on the policy matters important to us, just for creating the awareness. And we also indicate that which policies are uh, consistent with Indian American viewpoints. And then people can look at it and then can make a judgment, because most of the people don't know actually that how our congressman has voted. What are the views? The only thing that we know, oh, what is the statement came? Right? That's the only thing it comes. And if that statement is someone made it viral or someone came media, but most of people don't know. So how they actually so the engaging them, educating them. So these are the few things for this year happen. But then it comes that there are a lot of issues, consistent basis are there. And this last couple of years actually were a little bit tough for Indian Americans, also from US-India relations point of view. For a couple of decades, we have been working, not just FIIDS or anything, but many organizations. We worked on cultivating, building a good US-India relations. And that is actually as a result of so many people, US-India relations were at the peak. It's bipartisan agreement that is the most consequential relations in the relationship in the 21st century. But there is some sort of a turbulence we have seen, and it went to the lower side of it. Now it is again rebuilding. It is coming back. So that is one aspect, whether it was a issue related to trade or different war thing or the immigration issue, all this, there was some kind of a, not that synergy was happening.
Absolutely.
But if you, now what we are seeing, that Secretary of War met Home Minister and then signed the 10 years defense partnership framework with US India. Similarly, recently Secretary of State Marco Rubio visited India, and they had a bunch of agreement, including critical minerals, which we have been promoting for years. So there is now things are moving. Even the indications are there. Trade agreement is also signing. There are some disputes were about the oil purchases and all that thing. That is all. But the sentiment that last August, September were very negative. There are people in the administration or outside the administration. They were making the negative statements unnecessarily in the public domain, and that had some issues. So we had to again work towards rebuilding that, this one. And as I initially I mentioned, there are a lot of this negative sentiment, discrimination, bias, whether it's some online to sometimes media. Even CNN had a report. NY Times actually positioned that H1 racism. There was a report by Carnegie Endowment Foundation, which is a think tank. They also did the survey and found that there is an increasing negativity, increasing discrimination being felt and all that thing. And FIIDS actually believe that there are some fringe element. They may be campaigning. There is also non anti-India or anti-Indian American forces. It could be extreme woke or religious fundamentalist, or it could be foreign countries which has vested interest against India. So those are also, online space is open, right? Online space, anybody can put the garbage. So that is there, but also some French extreme element locally also that. But then it started amplifying, and that started percolating to the local levels, and that's what one example from Texas I mentioned, and there could be other places. I'm not saying there is a widespread, I'm not saying that it is everywhere, I'm not saying that Indian American actually every day and day and night getting discriminated, so it's not like that. But it doesn't look good because we have seen the good times. When we see the trend, that's what we should be worrying on. And when the trend is negative, it is our responsibility to fix it. So we are creating also one of the issue that we are making capitally to emphasize that Indian Americans are actually contributors. Some of the online that comments has been that, hey, they take the jobs away. No, it was sometime probably year 2000, right? That time there were cases, but now we are in the Silicon Valley, we are hiring, we don't get any people, right? Qualified people, only most of the people, immigrant background and all that thing. They're not job seeker. The number of jobs in this area is larger than that. And if you cannot hire, the jobs are actually going out because companies need to take them. That's why they do the offshore and all that thing. Instead of employing people here, now we are exporting the jobs. So that's something, but people need to create the awareness. They also don't know that Indian American just 1% of population, but we contribute 5% of taxes. So think about that. We actually bring billions of dollars in terms of the taxes go into that. This the like say 60% of the hotel I mentioned, or the small businesses and all that thing, they generate jobs. And then keeping all the MNC job aside, say let's say that I'm not talking about the CEO of Google is Indian or American, so that is not, I'm talking about the employees of the Google. But keep all these people aside, just other businesses, and there are almost 10 to 11 million jobs getting created collectively from that Indian American ecosystem. Indian Americans also be part of all this tech industry, patents, startups, creating unicorns and all that. So we are contributor. You are not really, and one interesting fact people don't know, that we take the least advantage of the social security. So the contribution by point of view highest, we are taking very less into that. So that awareness need to be created. So that positivity, if we bring that knowledge, then that negativity generated by this negative campaigner, they only project something that someone did some fraud. Yes, fraud happened. That's unfortunate thing, and we are condemning fraud. We are, no matter who that fraudulent, whether it's a person or the entity or anything, we are against that. They are not Indian American for our point of view. They are just criminals, right? So those we are against of that, but those cases get spread, but the contribution doesn't get spread. So that is where I think we will be focusing on creating a positive awareness about the Indian Americans. That is another thing that our delegates who come over there, when they go back, these are the few things by end of the year we do. Of course, we have the issues related to H1 getting paused in India. So we are trying work, but that's a nationally we try to do. There are issues related to green card backlog and documented dreamers. But this particular Congress, I don't think that it, unfortunately, it is too late. And there has been so much kind of other issues. So, but we have to keep on educating, because 70% of the elected officials get repeated. So next year we will be seeing the same thing. So whatever we do, work right now, it's not going to go get wasted, because it's like
Absolutely.
this, you keep on hammering and the 50th stroke will make the impact, but we have to make that 49 strokes. So that's what we are doing.
Absolutely, Kanderaji, whatever the efforts or activities I could see, it is a positive vibe about the Indo-US relationship. I will talk about the immigration in a little later, but I would definitely touch upon the FITS on the Capitol Hill Day, right? So when I see FITS, it's nothing but the policy between the Indo-American relationships and identifying and researching what policies are made and how it can strengthen the Indo-American relationship. So you said that it is almost 4 years you have continuously you are doing this activity. What are the top five policies we have educated the legislators or brought our issues in front of them, and how that transformation has happened? Are we getting any positive results? Why don't you tell top five policies and how they are measured?
Awesome. As I said that the making impact, right? It takes time. You have to create awareness and it manifest, and it is so. And in this case, right? Many times you have to connect the dots, how it unfolds and all that. So I'll start from the very kind of a example, which is not really Indian American centric, or not, I can say that it's not exclusively for them. I'll start with critical minerals and rare earth material. So, as we know, that right now, uh, China is taking using that as a choke point. Is think that critical minerals is a Strait of Hormuz from China point of view. There is a war going on which we don't know, we don't see, but there is. In that manifested in the trade, US and China trade, that in US could not do impose heavily because they have leverage called critical minerals. Critical minerals are called critical or the rare earth material because whether it's a semiconductor, EVs, space, defense, everywhere it is very important. Without that, you will not be able to actually manufacture most of these things. So, from the national security point of view or growth point of view, they are critical. But 80% of these reserves for many of these critical minerals are with China, directly or indirectly, with China's BLT. It basically spread all across almost world, and it has either rights to those resources, mines, extraction to that. That puts the whole world, and there is nothing against China, but Chinese Communist Party has been hegemonic. They are kind of showing the signs of imperialistic. They are not having the same democratic values of sharing is caring. Rather, they use that against the humanity, and that is our worries, and particularly from US point of view. When in pursue in future we may see some issues or so. Critical minerals in 2024 was one of the five issues that we presented in our Capitol Hill Day, and that time many of the elected officials were not really aware about that. But then it all this, but that's where it started our awareness point of view. Of course, that's not the only reason. If the whole trade blockages wouldn't have been there, then that severity wouldn't have been understood. But we positioned that time in 2024 itself that this may happen. And 2026 now we see there are almost 10 different legislations are there, and some of those legislations are actually in the reflected in the administration also. Administration is funding a huge into that space, creating alliances, and that is the one of the area. This year also we are presenting that because some of the things need to be codified. They are still administrative actions, but there need to be sustainable framework need to be established over there. Second example I can give that uh, in 2022, after the COVID, there were huge appointment delays over there,
Yes.
and 6 months to probably 2 years. And that time we did campaign, we did created awareness, and then we actually were invited by the State Department. We particularly in the DAS, which is the South Asia related, South and Central Asia. Also the consular services. It's an interesting thing. The actual visa or that is under DHS, which is the USCIS,
Mm-hmm.
but the actual stamping visa processing happens in the State Department in the Consular Services, Bureau of Consular Services, and we had the meeting with the DAS, and they all the good discussion, and then that actually resulted in some easing of the visa things. Uh, so that shows that our work, our campaign, or sustained efforts were appreciated out there. Another example I can give that, and you can Google about that, the USCIS writing us back. When the H-1B layoffs were happening, they were basically needed to go by rule, leave the country within the 60 days. That was in 2020, probably four early, 2023 late into 2023 and 2024 early. Lot of large companies were doing layoffs, and then there was the issue that they had to leave. So we wrote to USCIS. We also worked with elected officials, many elected officials like Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy, Congressman Tanedar, Congressman Ro Khanna, Rich McCormick. They wrote to the USCIS, and USCIS actually wrote to us. They wrote to DHS and all that thing. USCIS wrote to us to respond to our letter and communication, and they actually show some of the remedies that what can be done, that they can, whether they can go to B1 while trying, or there are compelling situations. They did guide us. So these are some of the examples that they took it seriously. To those are the things. Now recently all this again H-1B stamping getting the
Right.
not even stamping, there are appointments even not getting. So we are working on that. We met Ambassador Sergio Gore and his team in India in the month of February. We wrote some of the articles and all other things, wrote to this one. So there is a work in a progress into some of the areas there. So we have been working on the green card. One of the issues that lot of Indian Americans are facing is a green card delays. So that is happening because 7% country-wise quota limitation in the Congress. So last Congress, 118 Congress, we had the couple of bills related to both of them. Good progress was happening, but this Congress particularly, we don't have much traction on this area because by and large the anti-immigrant illegal immigrant sentiment actually spilled over onto the legal contributing immigrants, and we need to work more to get some of this thing established. So I'm just giving some of those examples that yes, there are some progresses, there are some setbacks. It's not just because of our work or lack of work. It's just the whole political environment and atmosphere changes, so we have to adjust to that.
Excellent. I could see a lot of progress because most of the Indo-Americans have this issue on the immigration. So most of the time when we have a meeting, Khanderao, most of us will bring this, especially the immigration issues. So every time the elected officials say that this doesn't fall in our category. So how do you make that influence when they are really, there might be some needy situations, emergency situations. So what is your thought or FITS can help in such cases?
So emergency situation, the local elected official, their office, irrespective of the party, if you write to them, they actually and we can help into that. Also, some of the elected officials, particularly Indian American background, and also mainstream, they are willing, even though they are not constituents, they write to if you provide the details of the embassy or where with the Delhi, Mumbai, where it is stuck or some issue, they actually provide that. If the issue is here, it is related to Indian citizen, then Indian consulate actually helps, and we can also reach. We connected both from the India side and US side, so that way definitely it gets into that. But the cases, we have some sort of a immigration attorneys group who are our experts and who consult, who can help into some of the cases into that. But the scale of the problem is such a huge, particularly in now I'm seeing a lot of the students facing the problems and all that thing. So it's a one-to-one basis, it becomes difficult. To give the example that when the whole H-1B 100K decision got launched, at that time when we had the awareness session, our Zoom has a capacity, and that capacity we had blocked it, I think 300 or 500, and people were waiting and all that thing. It's like so much. So this is a huge need and impact is out there. So then we try to create the awareness outside, give the press statement. Fortunately, Indian American or the Indian news networks, I'm not saying from India based, but the PTI, ANI, INS and all that thing, those are the networks. They carry what we issue, or we try to create the awareness about what is the actual issue and what is the impact, because a lot of misinformation and what is the panic gets spread. So at least we try to separate it out and guide the people, and they take it forward. So a lot of things we do, more can be done.
Excellent. I think touching upon the immigration, I would definitely ask two questions to you. In the recent changes, you see that 100,000 you already pointed out, and recently we have seen some win in the court. So, how does this translate, and what is the message from FITS about this $100,000 for the H1?
Yeah.
And the second one is on the wage control, right? There is a lot of wages mismatch, level 1, level 2, which is also creating impact to the small businesses and medium businesses. So how do you see that, and what are your observation and message?
Okay. So, first thing, that the addition of 100K fees on H-1B, it was really unfair. We can understand it's more to probably restrict the flow, and companies should be able to pay if the candidates is worthy, let's say, is really, so that it can only be the best of the best and high paid. But the situation is that not startup, for example, they can't pay, right? It's not a matter of the candidate on that, they can't pay. Governments, that actually government also need the talented people.
Yes,
Now, government can't pay. Right,
100,000.
so that's the administration can play, research institutions can play. Yes, probably Google, Amazon, Microsoft, for them it now doesn't, but they are the very few. So that is the impact is unfortunately in the local industry, right? It is not only the people. Yes, people get impacted, but the impact is local, this one. And ultimately what happens? I've been in the large companies, so they will, okay, instead of hiring here, hire in the other country, and then jobs go out. The Here they don't understand that person here who is employed, he spends here. So the salary it actually get used, and that whatever the salary actually Indian American gets, the 4 times of wealth they create, actually opportunities they create. They either create the businesses and other things, get the touring, they spend the money, invite the other guests. A lot of things are there. But keeping aside, you mentioned that there is a win is there, but there is just as a federal court, district court. It has to go to the probably administration may go. I don't know what is their will, right? It is basically is the there is will is to go all the way till the end. Then it will go up to the Supreme Court, right? So it will. And I haven't seen the appeal right now. I need to see that. But hopefully there is a sanity back. There is a industry also very unhappy because impact is that now the OPT holders or F1 who are actually applying for H1, they don't need to pay because the status of adjustment though they are here, etc. But there is in general in the startups and others, they are worried in hiring and they are getting choked. But there is some changes are at least the court wise happen. I feel that administration should actually look at it the broader impact, and it is actually so the immigration is not a favor, right? H-1B is not a favor. It's a actually importing a talent to fill up your deficit. Just like we are importing lot of this stuff we do not manufacture in here. Like so we get the silicon GPUs get manufactured in Taiwan, we import over here because in US it doesn't happen. So this is the import of the talent because there is a talent deficit. If the talent deficit is not there, the industry would not be paying it, right? So that way, so there is a so the program itself is launched. It was not it is not perpetual, and it was not like that. It was launched because of there is this one, and as long as there is a need, it will be there. Just like farm visa is also there, right? There are no farmers. Then some like on the season, you may know that there is a visa. People come and they go. So that way, it is to fill up and make this country more competitive and against the particularly there is a competition and there is a huge AI and other area growth is happening from the China. To sustain that, we'll need the talents, and that's the gaps there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Khanderao. We are coming close to the 1 hour time. In the interest of time, I will ask last three questions and then we will close this call. So the first question is on the young generation, right? The Gen Zs. I know there is an opportunity for this Capitol Hill and also being participated in the policy making. How do you see that any of the high schooler and above be part of this FIIDS and contribute, learn, and progress in their life? Especially the young generation, we need to bring them into the legal system. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
So we have a structured what we call as internship program, but it is actually educational program. We call it a certificate program in civic engagement and leadership, which is a summer program, structured cohort instructor-led program, where people who actually study, they present all this thing, and also experts who come and guide, and there is some practical knowledge. So it is to create the awareness about how the what policies are, how policies get formulated, how you can basically engage or influence, and also some of the hands-on work into that. So that's the people get leadership. What we believe is that these young minds, they can do anywhere because it doesn't matter where you are, policies impacts. Whether you are in
Absolutely.
business, you are in a medical professional, you are in an actual CEO of a company, policies matters and they get impact. So they need to have that. They also open up, they cultivate the leadership to get out of their own comfort zone, meet elected official, meet some prominent people, interview them or position themselves. So these are the training we do. There are also online opportunities year long, or they can get engaged into local ways. So we do have youth engagement activities, not just this in the summer, but ongoing basis. We also have a congressional internship. There are four types of congressional internships are there. We and but this is restricted to the undergrads because who can work on the policies and things and all that thing. We every year we work with some elected officials and get internship in the Congress itself.
Wow.
So there this year also there are 3 to 5 candidates at least we select them and put in a place over there. Then we have internship, congressional internship of FIIDS. So they are working on the congressional matters like about the policies and all that thing, but they are not sitting inside the Congress, but they work for FIIDS. We also do the local internship. So we place with the local Congress in the local districts. And then we do have the remote local into other activities related to the Congress. So we have this internship, and including we try to create whether these people can, those people interested with the how the electoral politics work. Then we get engaged into the campaign point. It doesn't mean that actually they are doing door to door, but lot of other things where they can learn how the social media would work, how that analyzing the who voted and how the voting patterns are there and etc. So a lot of this, but they get the hands-on training. So youth need to be engaged, and we do the ongoing in kind of work in a way that not in the summer, but as I mentioned that Congress and also all these issues working all the time. So studying the bills, attending think tanks sessions, creating some position papers. They can be done from anywhere, and it's a continuous one. Youth, now we are also observing lot of girls are participating, coming forward into that, and anyone who is into say into international relations, economic, trades and commerce or any other this one areas, right? Definitely, it's a immense value for their career also.
Thank you, Kandiraji, for that brief on the internship. And now you see the AI technology and the trade relations, foreign trades, and policy. As you said, they are rapidly evolving. So, what policies should entrepreneurs, professionals, and students should pay attention to over next few years?
I think as you mentioned that in the AI, lot of policy works are happening. How the AI is grow. There is a responsible AI. One thing there is a also AI whether it's getting out of control. There is an ethical AI also aspect of it. How AI itself can be bias free. So safety guard and how do we basically safety guard. So those are the issues definitely related to technology. So policy matters, right? For this is a very any technology development happen, policy matters. Like say EV car or say driverless cars. So then there are policies are going to happen into that. Anything policy, okay, accident happen, who are liable, whether the manufacturer or coder or the algorithm who gave that or the person who has actually bought the car. So those are the policy matters. It really it comes. Anywhere new things get innovation continuously going to happen. That's how humanity actually got developed. That is the foundation of that. So all the disruption, innovation driven disruption are going to happen. Whenever the innovation based disruption happens to the large scale community or the public, policies need to be set in the place, and those policies impact us also, like a policy in the cyber, the no, crypto, for example. If you are investor in a crypto, then you will have to show whether you are investor or whether you are actually user or anything. People have to observe. My thing is that since most of our people are from technology and other areas, monitor, observe that, see how the policies are shaping, and they are going to whether they are impacting or you take advantage of that from your investment point of view, anything. But the lot of things matters to me, which actually slow moving could be how the climate, and I'm not saying that position into that because there are a lot of things is still more as a rhetoric, but might not be the substance. But we have to see how it is evolving. What are the policies set towards that, related to the energy, related to the international relations, because the world is turbulent right now. The wars are happening. UN is helpless, and that's where the good countries or the countries like US, India, they have a play, particularly India with its unbiased, democratic, valuables, responsible principles can play a role. And some of these areas definitely of our long-term interest to cultivate good relationship between US and India so that together they can be a torchbearer of democratic values, peace, prosperity, sharing in the world. And it can go into that. So that's why one of the area that we should focus is from broader interest of America, the broader interest of US and India, and interest of the world. We should play in Ramayana. There is the story of this, the whole building a bridge, and there is a squirrel which basically rolls on the sand and then goes to the bridge, and then say that her contribution, the squirrels, is that the bridge is it's almost like a negligible, like nothing. We probably are the squirrels in that case. We have to play our own role, and hopefully somewhere it get contributed.
Very well said, Khanderao. I think a lot of insight. To close this podcast, what would be your message for the community to engage with FIIDS, to engage with policy, to engage with legislation, not only the adults but also youth? What will be your final message?
So I think the first key words you call engage. Before that, I would say be aware, engage, and lead to make an impact. So I would say that four things into that. Be
Absolutely.
yourself, create awareness within yourself and others, engage into this one, right? Get out of our comfort zone. Then make the impact in this. You have to engage, you have to connect with the people and make the impact. And it sounds big thing, but it is doable with the smaller efforts. It just people need to get out of our comfort zone and see that, hey, we can also do us, and it's a doable thing. But if all people or large number of people do that, and people need to think that how we can contribute to that, because right now what I see, Indian American earn a lot, but they don't support this type of activity because they don't understand. We have so many CEOs are there. They don't comment on any one of this. Even though they have actually so many immigrants, they will not comment. They will not comment about what the important of when the trade deal happened and all that thing, or the trade issues were happening. None of the people made any comments that, hey, it's not fair, right? There is no comment into that. So speak out, not support. If you cannot speak out because you have some of the issues are there, how can you support? Like an organization like FIIDS, we are minuscule in the kind of sometimes I feel that instead, like the amount that we are raise in fundraiser, if I keep aside and instead of that I do something just as a give talks on technology, big data, AI, and all that thing, I can get more money and I can actually funnel back to FIIDS. That might be the better than going to so many people and asking for funds to support. So that's also there. If you cannot do, at least support funds. People are comfortable nowadays, at least they are donating to India. But India now, I deal with the Indian leadership and others, they said that we have adequate money. We just need to execute properly. They are doing that. They don't need the money for this, the whole projects with the schools and all that thing, but we feel good. Okay, then we support some schools and all. Then we do for temples. There are so many temples everywhere happen. Then we go to some fun events. Some singer come, 500,000, 600,000, million, they one event, they kind of this. But when it comes to this type of activity, absolutely no. So that is it's not just the create awareness, engage, lead, and impact. I said I will also add one C into that, that is contribute.
I think very well said, Khanderao. The amount of work what you are doing is amazing. Hats off to you and the entire team who has put together this structure. And I also tell all the viewers and Indo-Americans, we need to support FIIDS. You have already heard from Khanderao. We have to why FIIDS, what is FIIDS, what FIIDS does, and how it is engaging the policies, legislations, bridge between Indo-American policies as well. So we can contribute, we can support, we can lead, and we can also impact, not directly, maybe indirectly through FIIDS or any other organization. So with that said, I hope this will be an amazing podcast with a lot of information which is useful in our daily life, especially when we talk about policies, bills. I'm sure that you all have learned from here and start looking into the legal aspect of it, policies, and also bills, contribute and learn from them. That would be a great effort. And thank you for watching. Thank you, Khanderao. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
The Indo-American community has achieved success across business, technology, healthcare, and entrepreneurship. Now it's time to make that success count. Stay informed, vote, engage with your representatives, support the issues that matter, and inspire the next generation to lead. Your vote is your voice. Your participation is your power. Your leadership can shape a stronger future.